Okay. Um, I guess Bandleader 101. I was a little hesitant to make this video because I just came from a performance that I didn't really enjoy. I went to see a friend's band play, and then there was another band that was the headliner, and I was really struggling to get through their set. And I thought a lot about it on the way home here. Decided to pull off and talk about it just a little bit because I think there's one thing about they had some potential. They had some good stuff that was happening and some things that could ultimately work for them, but they had one big problem. It was like a glaring problem that really felt like they hadn't not only were they having the problem, but I think they didn't even realize like this is your biggest problem. And it's a problem that a lot of bands have. Bands that are problematic, I should say, a lot of problematic bands, this is part of what needs to be fixed and might well be the first order of business. And that is feel. So, what do I mean by that? I mean that collectively as a band, how are you all feeling the rhythm of these songs? How are you all feeling the groove of these songs? Is there a pocket to these songs? Does it feel good out there to the audience? Whether or not you've got great songs, whether or not you've got a great singer, whether or not you got great dynamics and great arrangements, how's it feeling out there? Because a great feeling band kind of trumps a lot of other stuff. If you feel great, but you're mediocre in other areas, that's probably a more enjoyable experience on a how do you get to know you kind of basis for an audience, a room full of strangers, an audience that's just there checking you out, than, you get a good singer, but like some of the problems that this band was having is that they weren't they were dragging. In other words, within a given song, it got slower and slower and felt like it was losing energy. They were dragging. They didn't really have a tight grid. In other words, they were not sharing like moments like the backbeat. When the snare happens, anything else that happens on 2 and 4 should be right with it. And all those things were just all over the place. They're just kind of a scatter shot, a shotgun blast of stuff instead of a tight pattern. And the combined effect is that it felt sloppy and slushy and uninspired, and it kind of submarined anything else they were trying to do. Like, this is a band that had kind of a cool vibe, they were kind of like a goth rockabilly kind of band, but like they were really struggling to like project a shuffle when the song was clearly a shuffle. Like, think of like Stray Cat Strut as an example. Like, don't like, I can sit there and do that off the top of my head, and it's like already you know what I'm talking about. Like, you can feel it. A room full of strangers can feel it. They start to dance. They start to tap their feet. They start to snap. Maybe somebody gets up. They're feeling it in their spines, and they're with you just because you feel good. But if, on the other hand, it's all sloppy, now what's going to hook them in? You've got to have the greatest song. You've got to have the greatest voice. Everything else has got to pull extra weight if that's where you're at. And that's hard. That's a tall order. So as a band leader, I strongly encourage you to make an honest assessment of how your band feels. Record yourselves at gigs, record yourselves at rehearsal, listen back critically, and don't just leap to blame the drummer. Like, I think in this particular case, this drummer wasn't quite ready for prime time. But you know what? I've seen plenty of bands where the drummer was a little lacking and everybody else played tight, and it salvaged it. And in this case, they were not playing tight. Nobody was playing that tight. And it's not just the drummer, it's everybody. It's everybody's responsibility to groove. It's everybody's responsibility to pull it together and feel right, feel the grid, be in the pocket, and groove. And that is the number one order of business you've got to have. You've got to feel good, at least good, decent, at least. If you have feel problems, you have band problems that you're just not going to get around. So, hope that's something to think about, and until next time, take it easy.